Doing a little work today on the old Traxx Trx4 Bronco, in particular, working on the tracks themselves for the track units, coming up with a new tread pattern. Had this out the other day on the RCAD adventure course, terra firma run. We had some slipping going on some of those brick areas and hard packed dirt sections, so I wanted to come in here and try to increase our pounds per square inch on the front of the truck without actually adding any weight to the vehicle. I also want to increase our traction a little bit, so I did some tread modifications to this. Now, this isn't the easiest vehicle to do tread modifications on as far as things go. Odd number of lugs on the tracks, front and rear. Front track has 31 lugs all the way around, so odd number there. Rear track has 33 lugs going all the way around, which kind of explains Traxx's lame tread pattern that they had going on. All the way around, same repeating tread. Makes it easy, that is for sure, especially when you have an odd number of lugs on the track. And I wanted to try to increase our traction, like I said. What was happening out there on those hard-packed surfaces, like this tool bench? The tracks are designed for flotation, correct? So they're designed to put down the least amount of pounds per square inch as possible across the surface. Now, all those lugs that were tightly packed together significantly increases that lack of pounds per square inch on the ground, so to speak. So I want to come in here and remove some of these lugs in order of gaining more traction, obviously opening up the tread pattern a little bit more, giving the lugs a better chance to bite, as well as, once again, putting more pounds down per square inch. So looking at our treads currently, we've significantly increased our pounds per square inch. As before, in stock form, with the lug going all the way across on either side. That's focusing the weight across all of those lugs. Now we have removed half of those lugs. So it's just focusing the weight on the lugs that are left over, which should drastically increase our pounds per square inch across these lugs. It's not going to be too significant, once again, because we have such a broad surface area, but it will help out significantly. Once again, odd number of lugs on that track, which brings us to this guy right here in the middle. This last little lug. And so what I did with that, essentially, I actually kind of messed around with this at first. I left the two outer halves on it, these 2 points, and just trimmed out the middle right here. I just took a little teeny weeny chunk out of the middle, and a little chunk out of this side over here. And I thought that was still a little bit too stiff. It seemed like with the rest of our track, once we got to this point right here, there's a little bit of a difference between the fresh cut lugs on either side and this one right here. This just seemed to be a little bit of a stiff point. So then I came in and removed those two outer lugs and brought it right up to the center of that center V there. Just leaving a little bit of rubber tag on each end of it. Right here, just brought the scissors into this little line right there, cut across, and then remove this portion of the lug. When cutting these, you have to make sure not to cut off the side lug, that guy right there, because that is what keeps your track in line with the track unit. So you have to be very careful, and you don't want to cut too close to that as well, because you want to leave whatever strength that you have there, or as much strength as possible right there. So here is the end result on our tread pattern, which really resembles a Mickey Thompson Baja Claw after it's been cut down. Once again, that should drastically increase our traction overall on the adventure course. It definitely increased the flexibility on the track, that is for sure. By removing every other lug on the track, we have drastically increased the track's overall flexibility, which we should notice when we're crawling over objects and things of that nature, just because it's just going to be able to flex a little bit more down here. And hopefully we get some more bite out of it. So let's go into the tutorial here and see how we did it. And before we get started on this project, I'd like to say this at the beginning of all my videos that contain tire trimming. It is your responsibility. If you decide to take a pair of scissors or any other kind of cutting device to your tracks or to your tires, it is your responsibility. If you cut too deeply and go through the track or your tire, your responsibility. If you're unhappy with the tread pattern after it's done, your responsibility. Your vehicle, your tracks and or tires, your scissors or whatever cutting device you're using. You're the person operating the scissors. It's all on you. Your decision. Please don't hold me accountable. All right, so let's get started. Here, we'll pull this track off real quick while we're on camera. Like so. Usually I'll have two hands in here, but I don't want to block your view. So I pull it up and over like that. And while I'm holding it flat like this, Let's start on one end of the track and work our way to the other side, and we're all good to go. Very first cut is probably the most important. I want to make note of that before we get going. Here is our weird cut here, our last tread, our weird tread. Essentially what I did is I cut this one first. What I was doing with this one was leaving a little bit here on either side. Coming out to this edge right there. If you look at it closely, there's a little notch right here. I went to the very far side of that notch. Doing the same thing on this side. Just like so. Just trimming right up to that last little nub. Just like so. So I went to the very outer edge and made that first cut. Went to this very other outer edge right here on the edge of that little indentation. Made the second cut. Came in from the side. Cut that off. Flipped the track around. Cut this other side off. At that point in time, we had our odd lug out of the way and taken care of. From there on, I just went right down the middle of the track, one after another, cutting that middle section, cutting that middle lug in half. Making sure I had a nice even cut all the way around the track until I worked my way back around to our one oddball goofy lug, which is right there. And then I came back in and started making my other cuts, flip-flopping the track around every time I made a cut, back and forth, until I made my way back around to our goofy lug again. There's a seam right here going down the middle. I'm trying to split that seam as best I can in the middle. Not cutting all the way down through the track, just making sure to cut that seam in the track upward, like so. Just like that. I'm going to take the scissors and come in totally flat across the top. Nice and flat across here. I don't want to remove this outer lug. You want to leave that on there because that is a guide for the track to help keep it in line and help keep it on the bogey wheels. So you don't want to remove that lug. So I'm just coming in right across the top and taking it nice and smooth across the center. So pinching our track up like this, making sure we can see what's going on camera here. Like that. Got our first cut in, letting the track kind of flatten back out. I have my finger underneath it right here to put pressure on the bottom edge of the track to help hold this up, making sure our scissors are laying flat on the track. Mainly just want to make sure I'm removing that entire tread, just like so. We'll move on to our next one. Flipping the track around so we can get over to this side. Making sure to clear out any of the dirt so I don't dull up my scissors at the same time. Once again, coming in flat across the top. Snip. Getting a little deep on that one. Snip. Snip and snip. And there we go. Another one done. Spin our track around. Punching it up a little bit. Keep my finger underneath the track to help push back up on the track to make sure that we're getting a nice flat even cut on it. And there's another one done. Now if you got a little bit of excess rubber on the side, you could probably leave it. It's not going to hurt you as far as traction goes. You'll still get a little bit of bite off of it, so not the end of the world if you leave a little teeny weeny bit on there. It's almost like siping. But in my case, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I'm going to trim that little bit off of there. And there's another one done. Flip our track around, wipe our dirt off so we're not dulling up our scissors. And we got another one done. So we're just going to keep working that pattern all the way around. Now installing the Traxx, everybody, case you're wondering about if there's an easy way to install the Traxx, yes there is. I usually start at the front and leave the track kind of slack and bring it along to the back. Trying to hold this track into the front with my palm of my hand. I'm twisting it flat along this edge and I'm holding it, keeping pressure on that. I'm going to take our slack and work it along to the back edge and push it over top of our bogey wheels just like so. Now all we have is our little top piece. Bam, just like so. We're back in place. Moving on to the front, it should be easier to see on this one. Making sure our track is going in the right direction once again. Now you could start at the back if you wanted to. It's not really important on which side you start on. I usually just prefer to start on the front. Easier to pin it down, so to speak, like this. Not so easy when you're doing it on camera. Trying to get all the slack out of it, which makes it easier for slipping onto this back lug over here. Our back bogey wheel. Basically on. And we're all good to go. Piece of cake. And there we be. She is all said and done. And ready for our next run out on the adventure course. And see if our new trimmed track tread pattern makes a difference. And since I cut all those excess lugs out of there, added a lot of flexibility to the track that it didn't previously have. Just because we removed so much rubber around the edges, she's a lot more flexible. So I might have to come in here and tighten up our main tension right here. See, there's a threaded rod right there in between, which is very simple to do. Just peel the track off of the track unit. So you basically just remove this little screw right here. You see our little adjustment point right down there. With the track unit off, pull that brace up and out of there. And you can take this whole idler wheel assembly and just give it a little spin. Spin it out 1 notch or 2 notches, however many it takes to get the tension that you desire. Right now though, I think, as I'm pinching it right across here, I think that will be okay, right where it's at. So we'll continue to run it like this, which is right where I had it before I started trimming the tracks. If I notice any kind of slipping out there on the adventure course, I'll just come in and tighten this up a little bit. So once again, can't wait to get these back out onto the adventure course, see how they do. Hopefully we get a little bit more traction out there, those hard surfaces on the brick hills and whatnot. Maybe we'll get a chance to climb up the teeter-totter. I'm not too sure, but we'll find out. So that's going to do it for now, everyone. As always, questions and comments are always welcome, and we will see you all on the next video. Thanks again.